And so, is there a story or a particular something that happened in your life that really cemented that value for you, that value of encouraging others not to hide, but to have voice?
That's right. It's about encouraging each other, right? And there's so much to, the more we express ourselves, the better it's going to be for ourselves and for others, because we will eventually hear ourselves speaking. We'll see our thoughts on the page. We'll hear and see what we're all about. Even if we don't share it, we will be more encouraged just because we are out of our head and in the air and on paper perhaps and in front of others. And if we also take another step and get it out there, for example, the Casa de Colores, then it'll be we will have a bigger self in a way. And we'll be more human because we will have expressed ourselves and taken a risk, and that's a good thing.
You mentioned the early 40s, late 40s that you grew up.
Yeah, the late 40s. Yeah, I was born in 1948.
Fowler, California.
Fowler, yeah, and right next to Fresno.
Still bustling. Still bustling. Do you ever go back?
Well, I live in Fresno.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah, I live in Fresno. I mean, I go to D.C. A week here or 2 weeks there, or I stay a month. I got an office up there, right in the Poetry Center, the literature department. And so, I meet the different great people at the different departments. They have a prints and photographs department with thousands and thousands of photographs and prints. For example, the silk screens of Yolanda Lopez, who did amazing silk screens in the Guadalajara, which is still in the Bay Area, or from the La Raza Graphics in East LA. They have prints from that great place during the 80s that published. They did so many beautiful things. So I think of different people in different departments, and that way I can present those materials to the public and all of our communities. So that's what I do when I'm there, but I'm living in Fresno.
Beautiful. So, Juan, this is Diana again. And I had asked you before if I find great value in people sharing their personal stories, and what I often ask speakers, or anytime I've interviewed anyone that's going to share their information with the public, is I always challenge people to share a story where they were particularly vulnerable and possibly at a crossroads, and the value of choosing the path that they chose. And in saying this, is there a personal story that you could share that helped really you cement those values for youth, for helping youth, for that conviction? Is there anything that happened in your childhood or in your growing up and being from a migrant family and in the Central Valley? Is there a story that you could share?
A day. A lot of stories, I try to write about them as much as I can, but
a day in your life that changed.
A day in my life. Well, the biggest story. One of the biggest stories is when I was in 7th grade, and I was in San Diego, early 60s, and my music teacher looked at me and said, he just stopped and he said, by the way, what are you? And I said, I didn't know what he meant by that. What are you? What am I? What are you? Oh, I just couldn't. So then I said, oh, he wants to know if I'm Mexicano. And I wasn't able to say it. So, I got stuck because I hadn't spoken in class for years. I really didn't speak in class. And I tried. When I was in 1st grade, I kind of stopped cold because I wasn't allowed to speak in English. In Spanish, so only English. So in 7th grade, I just couldn't speak. Now, I couldn't say the truth, so I said I'm Hawaiian.
Wow.
So then I said, well, after the class, I said, that's it. I said, I'm done. I'm done being afraid of speaking, and I'm done not telling the truth because I'm so afraid to really state what I want to say. So I'm not going to take band. I wanted to take band and play the saxophone. It was my dream. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take choir. I don't want to take choir. I don't want to have to take choir. I said to myself, because I don't want to be asked to stand up by myself and use my voice and sing in front of everybody. And if I can't do it there, I'm not going to do it at all. So that's what I did. And it took me years to be able to speak up. And it took me more years, many more years, to stand up and really speak the truth, say things that were true, instead of going around them. So that's what happens to us sometimes. What happened to me.
Juan, that's...
It was very difficult living without anything.
You know,
not being allowed to speak. It put a dent in me.
That's it.
So I had to work on it. Yeah.
That's exactly the story that I was looking for. That story is inspiring, and I could relate to it, and I'm sure that so many other listeners can relate to it. That is beautiful. Thank you, Juan.
you know, the thing that I was impressed with was we was watching a video from 1975, and that seemed to be a very challenging time in your life. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Which video was that?
How many videos did you do?
There was one that you were speaking, and it was. I was just asking about the time itself. It was 1975, the year. Was that a challenging time in your life?
Oh, the mid-70s?
Right.
Yeah, it was challenging. Because again, I lived many years as an artist. I didn't have a job, and I had little tiny jobs, so I stayed with friends, and I was moving and traveling, and I didn't have anything. And I was married, and I had a hard time being my relationship, my lifestyle, and my relationships. I was having a very difficult time because I wasn't bringing any money, and I was living on the road in a way, and I didn't really have anything, and it was very difficult. And yet I was doing my art, which was also perhaps it helped me feel better. I had a place, and that place was art. But outside of that, everything was in chaos. At the same time, those were very big years in Chicano literary, my life. So I traveled to Mexico. I was part of the theater group. I was writing songs. I had finished up my first book of poetry. I was working at the Centro Cultural in De La Raza in San Diego. And all my generation of friends were perhaps part of the first generation of the Latino, Chicano literary movement. So all that was great. But at the same time, the other side of it was I was just hanging on a thread, and so was my relationship.
Wow.